As I'm making these introductory videos to these lessons, it reminds me how much information and how many skills families actually developed. So this is a lesson about the 2s and 3s because those are the titles of the handouts. And they sort of make sense, but there's really no order to this. So once again, you want to pick and choose. And I want to briefly go over this. Teamwork was really, really important. The families who developed these skills, many of them had been doing Lamaze or Father Coach Childbirth, which was Bradley. They kind of were working together, and it was really making a difference in families. But there was something missing, and they didn't really know how. They didn't always know how to build that teamwork. For the couples who worked well together, they didn't always work well in labor, and families that didn't work well together, they didn't always know how to. So in the teamwork, it's lots and lots of skills about how to develop your team for birth. And this has a huge spin-off with how you parent. Once again, it's really important to understand that men and women, we all blink, we all cough, we all tighten up our rectum. We're all human beings. We love being skilled. It's important to be skilled. There's just been a void in this area in childbirth, which is just a shock, really, because Lamaze and Bradley started in the 50s and 60s. And what stopped that growth? And it actually was the natural childbirth movement. I'm going to try to explain it very briefly here. When skills started, Grantley Dick Reed in New Zealand, where I am now, Lamaze and Bradley, these are 3 male obstetricians who saw that birth was medicalizing for all births. They felt that low-risk normal women could have a natural birth, and so they developed skills to achieve 3 goals: a natural birth, pain-free labor with no medical interventions, which meant that low-risk women often tried to use these skills. Some succeeded, some didn't succeed. Women who weren't low risk didn't learn these skills, and therefore they were left out. But after a generation from the 50s, 60s to the 70s, not enough women in all of these countries who had tried to have a natural birth, pain-free labor with no interventions, not enough women had succeeded. Well, first of all, those were the wrong goals. And second of all, you have to include everybody. 100% of pregnant women are going to give birth. So you have to develop skills for everybody. And everybody has their own unique circumstances. So you have to work with the common language of our body, common language of how we relate to each other. The natural birth movement and some very, very famous people at that time in the mid-70s and early 80s took a look at the Lamaze and the Bradley and said those skills didn't work to achieve those 3 goals: natural birth, pain-free labor with no medical interventions. So therefore skills aren't important. They actually said that. Cows and cats aren't taught to birth. Birth is a normal life event, and women instinctively know how to do it. See, they birth by the rice paddy. One very famous author believed that women should be left alone to discover birth. Another famous midwife said that midwives should sit in the corner and knit and let women discover birth by themselves. Birthing Better Families didn't buy into that at all. We wanted skills, practical, pragmatic, effective skills that were sustainable, adjustable, and adaptable, and that's what you get. So in this lesson, you are going to get the teamwork skills, because we shifted the goals. The goals weren't about achieving natural birth or pain-free labor or no medical interventions. The goals were to cope and to manage, work through, deal with, handle, stay on top of, feel in control, no matter what the circumstances of your birth, no matter what was happening to you or around you, because we knew there was no way to know what our birth was going to be like, and we were going to birth. It was going to unfold, and we wanted to have skills that worked in our baby's birth. So the teamwork skills are very practical. Then we talk about the 2 birth plans. As a handout here. Birth plans of what I want and don't want, which is a wish list, became very popular in the late 1970s. Women would have long lists. They wanted a gazillion things. But after the birth, many of those didn't unfold. Women didn't know what they really wanted, and care providers didn't have a clue what they really wanted. What we learned is that you also have to develop a skills-based birth plan. In other words, when you're learning skills from 24 weeks, just say to your birth professional, I'd like you to put, I've learned breathing or meditation, pregnancy yoga, whatever skill you've learned that you're going to use in your birth, have them just put it in the notes. And just say to them, every time I see you, I want you to notate that I've learned relaxation this week or teamwork this week, and put them in the notes so that whoever's at the birth, if I and my partner look like we're coping and managing well, I want you to praise us. And if we look overwhelmed, go back to the notes and say, oh, I see you learned breathing skills. Good time to use them now. We often have people learn skills and then their birth doesn't unfold the way they want. They feel they shouldn't use the skills. It's important to use your skills. It's your baby's birth. You only get a one shot at it. You can't replay it tomorrow. The memories are going to last throughout your life. So use your skills. If you have other words than cope, use them. If you have other words than manage, use it. If you have other words than to feel in control, use it. Whatever works for you, use it. That's your goal, is to work through your baby's birth journey using skills for both you and your partner. So create a skills-based birth plan. The 3 birth roles. Honestly, people are very confused about this. As a birthing woman, you know you're going to do the birth. As a partner, she wants you to be there, and now you're supposed to support her choices, whereas before you used to be a birth coach. But the 1970s and 80s natural birth movement said, we don't want men coaching and yelling, push, push, push. We want them to support women's choices and protect the sacred space. This is impossible for men to do because the medical profession runs right over them and often midwives step right around them. So the reality is that fathers need to be skilled the same way they need to be skilled as fathers. Because if they only support women, then this is the scenario. After the baby is born, nappy needs to be changed. The man stands behind the woman and goes, you're doing a good job. Really, she wants him to know how to change the nappy. So if fathers are skilled, they have no fear of their newborns, and women know that they can trust their male partners or female partners to be with their newborns. When you don't have a good birth coach and you have a newborn baby, you have a tendency to push that person away because they weren't good at the birth and you're afraid for them to be all thumbs about it. So the birth roles are really confused. Your birth professional is there to use their skills to safeguard the health and well-being of you and your baby. Your job as a birthing woman is to cope and manage as best you can, do it with skills. Your job as a birth coach is to help her cope and manage, do that with skills as well. The 3 births handout was suggested to us by a number of families. They said, write a story about a birth that's okay, that has no skills in it. And then write that same scenario. Mother and father don't like the birth. And then write the same scenario with them using the birthing better skills. And so we endeavored to do that. So that's what the 3 births are. How one birth, same birth, same birth, this made-up story, is perceived of differently depending on the level of skills you have. And that's a good one to read and think about. The birthing behaviors is basically 2 lists. There's one list, and birth coaches, listen to this one. There's one list of what you should see and hear. This is the good one. This is how she will look and sound like if she's coping well. The other list is how she will look and sound if she isn't coping well. The goal, keep her in that list, reduce that list. And that's from using your skills.